Welcome. It is another day of our wonderful show, Awakening Spiritual Gifts, weekdays, 11 a.m. Mountain. And we're excited to be back with you. Go ahead and get your questions ready and start commenting below. Also, it would be interesting to hear where everyone is tuning in from. So go ahead and comment below and click the like button. And we're going to dive into today's energy with Martina.
Yay. I know. I'm so excited. I want to know what's going on too. Like,
I know.
It's like it's soap opera or something. Like, what's next every day? What is it going to do? Okay. I started taking a look at energy just while I was listening to that jamming music that I love. And so what I'm seeing here, so yesterday, it's interesting, we saw a little bit of that. Okay, honestly, here's the thing that came up for me today. I'm gonna even just say, like, thrust in your sickle and reap, like the whole like thrusting your sickle in. Remember yesterday I kept talking about it. I'm like, I see like an ice pick, but it kind of is like a garden tool or something. I didn't have the word for it. And I was thinking about sickle and what a sickle is, or even there is a type of garden tool that I've seen my parents work with. I'm not a huge gardener, so it wasn't me, but like my mom and dad, I remember them and stuff like that. But it does have kind of the angled, like to like really break up some tough ground, or even sometimes you can see it like breaking up some cement or something like that tool. And so that's kind of the tool that I saw yesterday. So today, when I looked at what's going on, and again, when I'm seeing energy closer to the ground and to the earth, it's like it's going to really be affecting people more, and it's really like geared for us. And so what I could see was kind of the tool that had kind of cracked into the ground to kind of open some stuff up. And then today I'm seeing almost like a scraper thing coming up underneath. Like there's some thin layer of like hard, crusty surface on the ground. And so this is like helping to break up any of that hard, crusty surface. It totally just kept reminding me of garden analogy and how like when you till up the ground when it's hard, and this is the same kind of thing. Like it was just hard, and we're just got to kind of scrape up and pop up some of the hard stuff that was covering it. Honestly, too, like the phrasing and kind of what the impression I kept getting was that the Lord is getting ready to do a major planting. I did see some plants and some sprouts that are coming up within people. Like maybe they heard the call further in advance. And so these things within them are just sprouting up. And that felt like kind of an early planting, like people that were earlier hearing and kind of planting things and letting things out and grow. And now it's like getting ready to plant for the big harvest. So that was kind of the phrasing that I got, which was kind of cool. Like this is kind of a big final, we're going to uproot, we're going to till up the ground, and then we're going to pour in the seeds and I wish I knew gardening. If you are a gardener, if this makes sense to you, I feel like there's so much to this analogy that I don't even understand because I don't understand gardening. I don't do gardening, but it's like, I know that some things you plant in the early spring and then the other things you plant later, but it feels like whatever this planting season is, it's the one that plants all the big harvest, like the biggest part of whatever you're going to get later in the season with the plants. And then there was also some interesting energy too that was coming up. It looked, for lack of a better word, it just reminded me of like tree-like energy. It was kind of popping up, and I saw it was really coming in with like the ears, like people were hearing things. And this felt like these trees that were growing out of the ground. Some of them were not good. They were like false beliefs based on things that you've heard or believed, or the thoughts you think, the negative things that come in just through just all of life. And it feels like these are some trees that they've been growing out, but they don't have a lot of roots. They're not good trees. They're kind of the ones that you want to mow down because they're going to cause problems, like create I don't know. Again, I feel like there's so much to this analogy with gardening. Is there something with like some kind of when you clear the land, or there's some kind of trees that are a pain? Like when you clear out, it feels like that. Like there's some trees that are a pain, and it's based on false beliefs and things that we're hearing. So what that means for all of us is, I mean, look at all the symbolism. So we're going to continue to have some of these surface things be removed. Some of the surface things could be false things, like and the tree too, false things you hear, but also false things you believe, false things that are in your foundation. That could be a removal of ego, right? If you think of surface, that's what everyone sees is on the outer shell of us. So that could be image, ego. Those things are going to be uprooted and destroyed. Like it is a crucial time in life and in history and in the evolution of where we're going to have complete integrity and authenticity. So who you are on the inside is going to match who you are on the outside. Who you say you are, you are. Like it's just this pure, this pureness here. It's so clear, so that when you're shining, it's such a clear thing, so other people can see it. That is truly what these energies are doing on the planet right now, is to purify us, to clear out those things that we are not, and clear out the beliefs and all of those difficult things that we believe we are, or it's totally a time of transformation. It's really cool to see. So anyway, I hope that helped, and I hope that made sense, because that was a lot of like pictures and analogy mixed with the energy that I'm seeing. So I feel like there's going to be a lot more that we're going to understand about this as it unravels.
Well, and it seems to me like those tougher trees, it's like, watch out, like be aware, of limiting beliefs that may have held you back, or that you've held dear, like it, and just like waking up to how things really are. And that can be really uncomfortable for people.
Yeah, you know what? It's a good point too, to think about, like, even why a tree. So a tree is not in seed form. It's not a little
Mhm.
plant form. That is something that has been growing for a very long time. It could have even been passed down, and it could have even been growing from generational lines, like maybe these beliefs and stuff that were passed down from grandparents to parents to children. I mean, it's just like it's lasted long enough that it's now this big giant tree, and on the outside, it even, that, because it also kind of looks like it could be a beautiful tree. So how many of these false beliefs or false structures have we created because we think that they're good? We want these beautiful trees, but really, like you said, it's blocking or causing problems, and it's time to tear it down because it's not built correctly. It doesn't have the roots. It's just built for the image on the top. So
Yeah, or it's not 100% aligned with truth. And that can be difficult to come to terms with. And I feel like this is actually something that would be appropriate to talk about right now, because we have this free training coming up. And when you awaken to truths, it can cause chaos in your life. And we actually have this webinar coming up. It's free. And if you're interested in learning more about it, just comment the word awakening in the comments, and we'll send you the link to get registered. So we're going to be holding that. And yeah, this is the great awakening. A lot of us are awakening on an individual level. We're definitely awakening on a collective level. So this is going to be an awesome training for everyone. So all right, let's dive into the first question. We had Kurt write in. He says, I'm having a hard time knowing if I need to make a career change in order to make money, or if I'm just experiencing blocks to receiving money. It's been a struggle. Could you look at this?
yes, absolutely. And also, to answer Natalie's question, yes, I think it is a Sith. Like it's the little tool for cutting crops. And I think you can carve into the ground too, right? So anyway, that was kind of a comment I saw. So I think that could be it. Thank you for that. Okay. So Kurt, great question. I'm so grateful that you asked it. Let's look at this. This is Oh, in fact, I actually am feeling too that there's others that are watching that are having some similar things. So I'm grateful for you asking this big time too, because you're not alone in this. All right, so the first thing I see when I'm looking at you, Kurt, is I see the doubt first and foremost, and it's coming from the heart, and it like is pulling you backwards. It's almost like a little bit attached to some fear about making it's kind of around making the wrong choice, but it's not quite just like I'm not, make the best choice, or it doesn't feel that kind of wishy-washy. It just feels like that uncertain place of taking a leap of faith. And so it's pulling yourself back a little bit because it feels a little scary. Um, and the way that energy is coming out from your heart tells me too that there are probably desires of your heart that you would love to have a career in. So what would you love to do for a living? And it feels scary, and it's like, whoa, I can't do that with my heart, like leading out with my heart, so I'm just going to pull that part back. Now, I'm not saying like just leap, like sometimes you also got to make strategic leaps of faith too, like this is what I'm doing, and then start to do both at the same time, and then maybe you can wean off of, or, scale back of one job or career as you're building another one up. Like there can be transition periods and like really, decisions they're wise there that you can make, but it definitely feels like there's something of your heart that you're not fully taking that leap of faith and moving through. So let's see here the blocks around making money with the heart. There is something in your generational line. It could even be maybe like you've tried to make a living off of doing something that you loved and it failed. It could be also something with childhood. Maybe you have parents that maybe you had an idea and you had all this feedback of why it wouldn't work, why that's a dangerous idea, why it's not safe to make these leaps of faith. And so it feels like there could be some parental voices, but then also just this generational line of doing I'm just going to like quotation mark here, doing what you're supposed to do. Like it's this, that's how, should energy that I'm not a fan of. Like in all of us, we got these things that are like those little voices that tell us what we should do. This is what you're supposed to do. So I would start also evaluating, what do you feel like, what are some of these voices telling you you're supposed to do? Is it like, sometimes it could be a lot of society or cultural beliefs of, well, you should just get a 9 to 5 job, like working here in this type of 9 to 5 in this kind of cubicle. Make sure you get all your benefits and your 401ks and your insurance and like those kinds of things. This is the best way and the only way to make a living. Is that true? No. Are some of those things nice to have? Yes. But it's not the only path. There's all kinds of other things that you could do, especially if you're entrepreneurial. And so some of that feels like a kind of a supposed to kind of culture thing, or it could even be like, I'm supposed to just work really hard, sun up to sundown, and by the sweat of my brow, I can make some money. And it just is like scraps. Like we're just always having to scrape by. So that's another type of generational belief that I actually feel like. Did you have like farmers in your life or in your line, your family line? I do see just kind of like that work in the land, and you got to just buck up and do it kind of thing. So I don't know how, I can check, but you could kind of see how many generations back that could go. So if it's not immediate, it definitely is in there. I almost want to say like 3 or 4 generations. And then there's some things there around your voice and believing that you have valuable things to say and that people will listen to you. So I would definitely look at your voice, express it more. And more than anything, be your own internal, like be your own guide, and really just follow your own internal compass. Like, it's literally what you do is between you and God. Like, other than that, people can have opinions. They can tell you, oh, that's too scary. Oh, you won't make money at that. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. Honestly, it's always about you and God first and foremost. If you've got a spouse, then there, but like, then go there next. But here it is always that internal desire and the path that you were created to follow. Truly, like, signs of that and seeds of that are in your heart. They were placed in your heart at the time you were born. And they're probably trying to get out right now. They're trying to grow and sprout. And if you ignore it, it could get a little bit intense, or it could start feeling like it could start even affecting happiness and feeling unfulfilled or depressed because you're not letting out whatever was placed inside of you. So anyway, I hope that helps you with that. And I'm really curious to hear how it goes.
Yeah. Let us know how that resonated, Kurt. Thank you. And I know you messaged, so you can reply there or you can comment. I know you're going to watch the replay later. Okay. We've got, let's see, Alicia. She says, I would love whatever you see would be most beneficial for me today. Thank you so much.
Okay. Hi, Alicia. Yeah, let's look to see. Okay, so I'm seeing a bunch of like emotions, and it almost even looks a little bit like crying energy. Like, there's just a lot of emotions, a lot of things going on, and it's flowing in through your crown and through your eyes. Like, it's coming down in here. So the way it's coming down and into your eyes makes me think it wants to cry, but when I go to follow the energy from there, it stops. So there's some kinds of emotions that maybe you're just trying to, like, oh, I don't want to cry, or I don't want to feel all those. So I would say definitely to give yourself some time and space and permission to sit and acknowledge any of those emotions that may be coming up for you or that are wanting to flow out. A great visual with this, and like when I looked at your energy, I can almost see this energetic pattern of water. So I would actually even suggest doing some kind of meditation or visualization where you imagine this water coming in and taking those emotions and helping it flow out like a beautiful river. That's just, you don't have to hold it in or block it. Just let it flow on out. Allow that beautiful kind of blue, like, think about all the symbolism and all the, how does water feel? Lean into that. You could pour the emotions. You could even imagine that water flowing through you, and you're just pouring the emotions in to let them float away. There's something very powerful about that. I think sometimes that we get into our heads about emotions, thinking that they have to be super hard and clunky or like hurts you super duper bad. And sometimes it could literally just be an easier release, even if they're painful, even if they feel like they're big. It can be like, let me just allow myself to feel it and to wash it on out. And so I'm definitely leaning into the emotions and water today.
It's beautiful. Okay. That it? Okay. All right. Let us know how that resonates, Alicia. All right. Ashley, I would love to know how I often feel stuck to live out my purpose. What's in my way?
Okay. Let's see here. Stuck to my purpose. Okay. So one of the first things I'm seeing here is that there's like, so when I looked at your purpose and kind of the connection between you and that and the way that it flows, what I'm seeing is that there's some beliefs around how it should look and what you think it is going to look like or be like. And it looks like in your mind's eye, it expects it to always be going forward. And so one of the first things I want to remind you of is to remember that even things like living your purpose and living life in general, there's always those ebbs and flows. There's always, think about like inhaling and exhaling. So breathing. Okay. So sometimes you're going to exhale and you're going to do and feel like you're totally living your purpose. And other times you're going to inhale and feel like I am totally purposeless. Like I am just floating over here and life got chaotic or whatever's going on. And I don't feel like I'm quite on my purpose. And then I'm going to exhale again and be back on my purpose. So I feel like just reminding you that there's an ebb and a flow and that there's not an always on. Like there's no such thing as an arrival for anything like evidence based, right? Like you can find a place of joy, but even in joy, there's going to be pain and struggle, and there's going to be happy moments, right? Like it kind of encompasses all. But if we just believe that we're going to arrive at joy and think it's going to be happy and feel good all the time, that's not true. It's just simply not. We've got our polarity, we've got these cycles. That's truly the universal laws in play in everything we do. So so that same analogy here and that same kind of visual, what can you do to say I am living my purpose? Like this is a state of being. It's not an arrival place, so the results are going to look different, but I am living my purpose when there is ebb and there's flow, and there's inhale and there's exhale, and there's doing and there's being, and there's success and there's failure. Can you do both of those at the same time? You are living your purpose. I hope that makes sense. So it's not really like you arrive like I'm living my purpose and I'm so successful and everything's working out. It's the two elements underneath it, and it's just a state of being. And it more is like because you're riding that cycle. So that's what exactly we're going to talk about, the cycle of ascension and our awakening and all that stuff. We're going to talk about that on our free webinar, because that's truly like what all of us are experiencing. Is just it's a process. It's an over and over process that keeps going up, and the way that it travels and moves and incorporating all of these universal laws in it. Yeah, it's all encompassing there. So I'm really curious. Let me see if there's anything else on that for you, Ashley. I feel like your head is asking a question, and I just picked up the energy strand of the question that you said. Did she ask a question or make a comment on that? I'd be really curious. It's like I'm like all of a sudden like, whoop, she thought something or questioned something. Oh, here's the other thing too. There's something about you like to measure the results. Like you like to really measure and calculate and quantify all these results. And that's a great thing to do. Sometimes to remember that you cannot quantify some of those being results as well as you could, like a physical one. And so there's some of that feels very a little like feeling like you're unproductive or you're not doing it if you can't quantify and measure it. And then also there's another aspect of measuring where you could possibly be prone to comparing or measuring yourself up. That's a better word. Measuring yourself up next to somebody else's success. So if you're seeing them and you think that they're like here and you're feeling like here, then you're feeling like I'm not living up to my purpose. Well, is that true? How do you know that they're living up to their purpose? Maybe they're just having a good external thing, but the internal things are not quite there. Like you don't know. So it just feels like there's a measuring stick that you're holding yourself up to, and you're feeling like you're lower than you actually are.
And Ashley, I'd like to personally invite you. We are actually doing a quest for purpose in the intuition gym right now. And we have a flash sale that's ending. I'll put the coupon codes down below, but that also might be a really great experience for you. It's going on for 40 days. We're about 15 days in, and really anyone who wants to join can join anytime. It's kind of like, you know how you watch Netflix or one of those seasons and it feels like, oh man, if I missed the first 5 episodes, I'm totally lost. That's not how it is in this quest. It's actually like each of these activities that we do each week, yes, they build on each other, but it's not like a prerequisite to have the other ones first. So you can learn at any point. So we've been getting a lot of good testimonials and results from it from members who are just like having huge breakthroughs and ahas. So
and you can go back and watch them too. Like they're just there.
There's replays.
And the quest is separate than the like we've got the quest, and then we also have all the other amazing things in the membership and the materials.
Yeah, and it's included. It's separate, but it's included. So it's like it's optional. Like if you want to go through it, you can. If not, it's fine too. So, okay, let's go to the next person. We've got a new face. I don't recognize this face from before. Rosie, welcome. I need to feel like I can trust my intuition. Any suggestions that might help me will be very appreciated.
Such a great question. Every single person going through like developing their intuition and their spiritual senses and using their gifts, like all of that comes up against this. Like, how can I trust it, right? How can I trust what comes in? So one of the very best things to trust it is to experiment with it. Trust it, like, can mean just doing it anyway. Overcoming some of the fear of looking stupid or sounding stupid or being wrong or whatever it is. So it requires a level of, you'll hear me sometimes. I know I've mentioned this sometimes on these calls, but there to really step into this place of knowing that as long as your heart is aligned and you desire to do good things, other than that, there is no wrong or right answer. There's no wrong or right way to do it. There literally is just, oh, okay, flow. And yes, I got this one easily. And then there's also like bumping up into something, and it's to learn it, to grow it, to course correct, to just, I think of it as bumper cars. Like you go straight or you bump into something and you bounce off of it until you turn and you figure out how to get back out of that. And then you can flow again and you can move. Using your intuition is the exact same way. It's also learning to, and this also feels very important, is to also not be afraid to shelf things that you may not understand. So like, let's say you trusted your intuition, but you didn't see any results from it. And you're like, well, that was weird. I trusted it, but did it really work? Was that really right? Was my intuition right? And don't be afraid to just stick some of those things on the shelf. I'm thinking of like an example here where I was driving down the road and I just had this feeling that I had to turn right and go a longer way to the freeway entrance. And then I got on the freeway and I didn't see any accidents. I didn't see anything that would have delayed. Like, why did I have to take that different route? So it's like, I don't have to understand it, but I'm going to just shelf it and just go, well, I trusted it. So it was probably something good. Um, and then also too, it could be risking to get feedback from others. I'm actually kind of seeing here for you, Rosie. I see that you possibly, like, there's some gifts that, or some intuition in your spiritual senses. Like you may actually have some like knowing, which is your clear, like your clear knowing and your clear cognizant. We do have a free like 1 hour training that goes into all your spiritual senses and that's like your intuition, like how your antennas, how you pick it up. If you wanted that one, but the clear knowing, that's just where you just kind of know things and you don't know how you know it. So then I'm seeing like if people were to sit there and question you, like, well, is that true? How do you know that, Rosie? You would be like, I don't know. I just know. And you wouldn't be able to defend yourself and explain how you know certain things because it just is there. And so like that kind of thing is like trusting it, even in the face of people questioning it and maybe doubting in your abilities or what you've received. It could also be like, I'm seeing the knowing, but I'm also seeing something about the eyes, which is a little bit more of the seeing. So it's like maybe you see something that other people don't see. It's like they're working in tandem here. And so, and it's like, well, I just don't think this is going to go right. Or maybe you see potentials of things happening before they do and how to avoid it. That would be another example of that. And those are just tricky ones sometimes to explain to people. Let me see what else there is specifically and personally about. Just your phrasing was interesting, how you said, I need to feel like I can trust my intuition. So there's something like you're saying, I need it. Like there's something that's very clearly that you felt that you haven't had it. And with that, when I'm seeing that and hearing it and looking at maybe what may be coming in, some of that is I'm seeing some lifetime patterns, even all the way down into like, early adulthood, teenage, even all the way down to childhood, where it felt like you had some experiences with people that you looked up to, and they either told you that you were wrong or told you what you had to do. And so there's a lot of, or even some kind of strictness. Maybe there was a parent, like a father or something, who's kind of strict, and there's a desire to impress, or like, here, look at me, am I doing good? And you're looking for that, a need for approval, like a stamp of approval. And so that would be one area that I would recommend, like, taking a look at it. And can you work through being able to stand on your own with intuition and not have to have anybody say, oh, good job, or have the result, or feel like, there's evidence of it sometimes. Like, all of that is like, that need for it is kind of showing that you have this need for approval. So can you just step into it confidently, lovingly, forgive any flaws, and just allow yourself to just move without others' influence, whether it be positive need for approval or even negative or criticism or their feedback and their words influencing you. So anyway, let us know on that one, Rosie. I'm so glad you're here.
Yeah. Okay. Do we have time for one more or two more?
Yeah.
Okay. Which, one or two?
We can do two.
Okay. All right, Michelle and Dan, you're up next. Michelle, first, I would appreciate a general health read.
Hi, Michelle. Okay, let's look at your health. Okay, just one second. I'm just going to kind of scan the energy of your body and let's see what's going on here. Okay, first of all, do you have a headache? Something like, seeing something like behind the right eye, and then also the back of the neck. Just feels a little bit of pressure, like a little bit of a pressure headache. There's something in your like torso. In your lungs. Okay, for your lungs, definitely I just see a lot of shallow breathing. So it just needs to be like, definitely take those deeper breaths and relax into your lungs, and even get air into your diaphragm. Just feel like you're only getting oxygen in the upper half of you and not the full capacity of what you can breathe in. Oh, that's so funny. Your glasses are tight on that. I'm like, what is this on that side? I'm like, something's poking you or annoying you. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, and it could create, and then the back of the head too, that's also your sight, right? Because that's your occipital lobe, like with that sight and everything. So yeah, it's subconsciously bugging you quite a bit, and I actually feel a little bit of like just discomfort here. I don't know if you always wear your glasses or if it's just right then, but definitely subconsciously bugging right there. And then so the lungs, definitely do that, and then the torso. Let me look to see if the torso. Okay, so let me see here. This is kind of funny. But I feel like there's some things for you to release and to let go. And it's manifesting a bit here in from like your large intestines over to your colon. I would definitely recommend lots of hydration, maybe some even like drinking lots of like lemon water. So it just feels like there's some stuff like kind of backed up there that could be released. And when it's held on to, I mean, and that could be anything from, if your body is experiencing it, then there could also be emotional things that you've got to look at and release. So it could be physical or emotional. And but for this one, it really feels like it's connected to some hydration. Maybe some hydration and like fiber, like getting your greens, maybe make a green smoothie with a bunch of greens, or eating a bunch of greens, like just getting a lot of that fiber with a lot of water to just help release some things. And it feels like when it's not released, it's actually kind of creating, it's like exuding like a little bit of a message there in the body. And so whatever problems like you may have had, it just is like reminding, your body is like sending this message, like, remember when this happened, remember when this happened, and remember when this. So that's kind of even the symbolism of, right, the colon, like holding on to things and not letting them go. So emotionally, I would start to look too, is there anything that you can forgive? Is there any resentment? Are there any like outcomes that you were particularly attached to and you've just got to kind of release and let go and surrender? I would start looking at some of those things because that message that it just keeps saying there, it's just like it's going through your whole body. It's like trying to talk all the other organs and all the other body parts into listening to this message. And so I wouldn't doubt it if you're feeling a lot of different random discomforts and pains and you're like, why am I feeling like all these things going on, when really it's just that one of the core things is the message is coming from the colon and the releasing all of that. So anyway, let us know on that. Thanks for asking. That was fun.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks, Michelle.
Bodies.
Okay. Next up, Dan, how do you see me using my gifts to help others in the future?
Hi, Dan. Well, that's a fun question. Okay. So I'm going to look here because future stuff is always dependent on choice. The moment of now is truly like there really is no like past or future. It's all about the moment of now and the moment of choice. So I'm going to look at this with your moment of choice and see where it's almost like I'm looking at your time. This is kind of sound funny, but I'm like almost going to look at like timeline strands. And so which one of the, how do you, what would you need to do to get the most optimal timeline of using your gifts? Does that make sense? I'm like, that was kind of a complex thing, but for some reason it feels like that is the type of thing that you were looking for today. So we're talking about timeline and gifts. Okay. So let's see here. Okay. All right. So this just as a reminder too, for our spiritual senses are like the way that we receive the information. It's how we navigate intuitive information, right? So those are all like your sight, your heart, your knowing, your hearing, your taste, like, and there's 10 different ones. But then your gifts work through those. So I'm seeing one of like your heart is being one of the areas that are like your spiritual sense, and your gifts are pumping out through your heart. I'm also seeing something about your voice. So it wouldn't doubt, or I wouldn't be surprised if you have like a clear expression, which is like through expressing. So in the moment you speak or the moment you do something and it just flows through you, then you're going to just have great insights. Now, I also see some of your gifts coming through those, and I see like this there's a force within you that is strong, and it's like I almost want to say like I'm speaking to my fellow warrior brother. Like I got a lot of this warrior energy inside me, and it just like it just reminds me of it. It's like it's coming through. When that warrior energy is present, sometimes it can be intense for some people to experience. Sometimes sometimes we actually hold it back because we're like, we don't want to mow people over with it. But I feel like there's some of that, like it just almost like wants to punch out of your chest and just be like, wow, here we come. Like it's just this force to be reckoned with, which is very, very cool when done in the light side, because there's also a shadow side of that. But I feel you kind of holding back a wee bit. Just, I think that you've had experiences where you let it out and it didn't go so well. Like maybe it backfired and you're like, oh, that backfired. So now I'm going to pull it back in a little bit. So it just feels like there's still some gifts there for you to come all the way out and through with. And it does, and this is just kind of an exciting thing for you to even recognize. Like sometimes, especially if you have a strong message, a strong voice, and you've got this little like push or warrior energy that I'm kind of seeing that's like, I just want to be front line, like rah. When you have some of that, sometimes you are just going to get people that are not going to like what you have to say or do. And can we reconcile that within ourselves? Can we still see the good? Can we still find the peace, even though that's there? So something about that. And then also there is something that, like with your voice, and there's something specific for you to speak into. I'm really seeing some kind of message there. It reminds me of we in the intuition gym, and like what we've just been even working on and some of this quest stuff that we've been doing in our membership site, we're talking about some of our archetypes and our roles and stuff that we play and part of our purpose. And there's some, like for me, like I do have that warrior type energy, but there's also a part of me that's a destroyer voice, and that feels very scary, but it's also very good, and it can be to help educate and align and to warn people and be like, don't do this, like almost kind of to destroy some of these old structures and things that are not good, right? But the word destroyer sounds very terrifying for me to have something like that in like the combination, because it's not just one archetype, like we've got a few different elements. So that feels very scary, and it feels like you have something similar. Like there is something that you are supposed to speak into, and it will tear down some of the falseness of it. And it's something that you're passionate about and that you like would fire you up and you would want to speak about it. And so it feels like like you could do that. So I don't know what platform you have to speak, whether it be, but where can you speak? Do you have a website? Is there a YouTube channel? Feels like there's something that you could speak into there. Super duper important for you to anchor in and ground yourself in the deep, great light. Like I would say, like there's the intensity and balance, because you have this great intensity like this, then maybe some other people could just like meditate and lean into the light like this much and be fine, if you can see. But because your intensity is here, you're going to also have to balance it with greater intensity, if that makes sense. Like it's like with great, what is that? Like with great
Responsibility.
yeah, with great power comes great responsibility. And so that's what it feels like. You got some great power, which means you got to be extra responsible. You got to really look and manage your energies and know what you're sending out and what you're bringing in and how you're aligning yourself and what kind of energies you're going to be bringing more, because you're going to amplify whatever you do. So make sure that that's super grounded in the light, so that when you do amplify and you have that intensity, then it's like this intensity for good and just will help shift some great things. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, please let us know, Dan. And I'm going to put up some of these comments we've been getting. Alicia, loved what you had to say. It made sense. So that was awesome. Rosie said, thanks so much. I feel like you're spot on. I really appreciate your gift. You've really helped me. Michelle said, wow, that is spot on. There are a lot of memories coming up recently, and thank you so much. So I think I got everyone, hopefully. All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. And if you did find value in this broadcast, please, consider paying it forward and share with your friends. Share. Oh yeah, there's Dan. Thank you. Yeah. Share with your friends, let people know. You can I'll always share this post in Messenger or publicly on your profile, or tag people in the comments. And we're really grateful. If there are people, I feel like there's like at least one person watching that might want to ask a question, but they want to be anonymous. And we have ways to do that. You can actually message our Facebook page and we will keep you anonymous. You can also email us, and that email address is in the description of this post. So thanks for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Mountain.
Thanks for being